Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of things that didn't move the box office,
Yes. Our new review of the week.
yes, Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, and Daniel, I am so sorry that my curiosity got the better of me and I recommended that we try this out.
Well, we don't know until we watch. But I think I will recover at some point.
um, so Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken was a movie that I had seen trailers for, but I heard other people saying they had seen no coverage for it.
Yeah.
Um, I remember at the time being kind of surprised at how badly it bombed.
Yeah, I kind of was too. Yeah, because there was certainly a need for animated movies last summer.
Yeah, I guess the Elemental filled that.
Mhm.
And what I was curious about was, okay, was Ruby Gillman Teenage Kraken a huge bomb because it was actually bad, or was it a huge bomb because nobody knew to go see it? And it could have been both, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably both.
Uh, the reason I went in with like a little bit of hope for it was because this is a classic DreamWorks style subversion of a Disney trope.
Yeah.
Because it's a movie where you have a kraken who basically is like a cutesified, anime-ified version of Ursula from The Little Mermaid, who's
Hmm.
there to protect a town from an evil mermaid who looks suspiciously like Ariel.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this isn't DreamWorks' DNA to make a movie like this, but
Yeah.
let's give this a shot.
Yeah, and it starts off. We meet Ruby and her family, her mom and her mom, dad, and little brother, and they're living in a little this oceanside town, uh, and of course they have this rule about not going into the water. Like they can't. None of them can go into the water. That's because for some reason the mom doesn't tell them why. Um, so the question is, if they're Kraken and they can't go into the water, why are you living by the ocean?
Right. If you just lived somewhere like you could have you're clearly already somewhere up in what look kind of looked to me like the Pacific Northwest, maybe.
Yeah,
So maybe you could have like moved to Forks, Washington. Although I guess you have to watch out for sparkly vampires. That'd be
yeah,
worth being away from the ocean.
yeah. But yeah, it's
Um,
just, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah. So of course, now I will. Okay. So I'm going to give this movie a little bit of faint praise here.
Okay.
We've seen a lot of movies recently where you have a completely selfish writer who has like they in their real lives have main character syndrome. Yeah, and they're very selfish people who don't believe in sacrifice. Ruby's inciting incident is that she saves her crush from drowning in the ocean, despite the breaking of the rule.
Right. Yeah.
So she's got some good traits. So good for her.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, she's not a total Ruby's not a totally terrible character, but it's just the story around her is just really bad.
Right. Basically, her she gets in the water and suddenly a huge pulse goes out that alerts the whole ocean. Hey, there's a kraken here.
Yeah. And then she starts getting well okay, so she saves her crush because the whole thing is that she wants to go to the prom with him. And but the problem is the prom is out on a whatever ferry boat,
Rented boat. Yeah.
rented boat, and of course, Ruby's mom Agatha doesn't won't let her go to the prom for that reason, and but then of course, uh, when she rescues her crush, the Ariel looking character is the one who takes credit for it.
Right. And the weird thing is that everybody acknowledges that this redhead is the new girl.
Hmm.
This redhead who is the new girl is just immediately accepted, and of course, her, who is bone dry, manages to take credit for rescuing the crush, even though Ruby is laying there soaking wet.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's like totally like that. There were a few moments in the first 15 minutes of the movie where we went, "Oh no, I've made a horrible mistake."
Yeah.
um, so the actual animation style is, they keep doing. I don't even know what to call it. But I've been noticing this in more and more CGI movies where they will throw in some cheaply made looking, like almost flash cartoonish effects.
Yeah. It's very, very cheap looking.
Um, but like, I mean, like in the opening where she's talking about the rules and everything, it's like I forget how exactly they did it, but it's like the equivalent of those things where you'll have like the background will turn into notebook paper, and you'll have like hastily written out the rules, or
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, that type of intentionally cheap effect. Later on, when she and the mermaid are talking about their plans, you get the same sort of thing where it's just like they're still CGI, but as they're talking about things, they're crudely animated around them in like a 2D sketchy style.
Yeah. It's weird. Yeah.
Um, Also in the animation style, this is definitely a case of Tumblr art, although it's weird Tumblr art. The side characters look like they're from Aardman Studios, with their tiny peg heads and
Yeah.
big noses and mouths.
Yeah. All the boys have really small heads.
Yeah, it's weird. Now I'll say that from a character design perspective, the Krakens look fine enough.
Yeah.
Like they're all reasonably cute, and the mermaid, you can understand that in universe people think that she's a bomb a bombshell, I guess. But
Yeah.
like a lot of the human characters who weren't from under the sea just looked strange.
Yeah. Very, very odd.
Um, the plot just kind of meanders, which is, well, okay, actually no, the plot doesn't meander is the wrong word. The plot isn't interested in parts of the plot that you would think that it was setting up.
Right. Yeah.
Like she has this whole thing where she has her group of human friends, and uh, she abandons them to go hang out with the mermaid as she's learning about her kraken powers.
Yeah. Mm.
And they never really, like, the friends never really go, "Hey, Ruby, WTF?"
Yeah. And yeah, and you were remarking like one of probably the best character in the movie was the her goth friend.
Right? She would just like start going like like when a huge wave was coming at them. Yes, come at me, inevitable destruction.
Yeah, yeah,
like she, that wasn't the actual line. It's been since Saturday since I watched it, but still, it's like
yeah,
she was fun.
yeah,
Second place would go to Will Forte, who is a crazy sea captain with a pet crab,
mhm.
who saw a kraken 15 years ago and has been obsessed with it since then.
Yeah. And his name is Gordon Lighthouse, which is probably a take on Gordon Lightfoot.
But he does like soft rock. Like he was playing some earlier he was playing some when he was out fishing, so that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, and he's very is still very bitter about his wife leaving him.
Yeah, so like he had the most going on. The actual story is the sort of generational trauma crap that you see all over millennial productions.
Yeah. Yeah, you got Ruby and her mom butting heads, and then you got the mom and the grandma butting heads, and
I find that their mom fled to the land just to get the hell away from her grandma.
right, yeah, and the grandma is voiced by Jane Fonda.
Boo.
Yeah,
Or yay, depending on your opinions, I suppose. But for
yeah,
me, it's a
yeah,
kind of a boo.
yeah, it's a boo for me too.
Um, Now, I will say that unlike certain sci-fi and fantasy and superhero characters in recent year, Ruby actually has like an extended training sequence as she's trying to get this MacGuffin.
Yes, yeah, and she learns all the different stuff from her grandmother, and of course the entire time she's like laser eyes, because they can shoot like
Yeah.
beams of whatever out of their eyes.
Which, you know what? Let's be honest here. If you were told that part of your power set would include laser vision, who among us would not want to jump straight to laser vision?
Yeah, yeah,
So I found Ruby relatable in that way.
yeah. I did too.
But also, unlike movies like, oh, say, Elemental or Strange World or things like that, you know what this movie had? A villain.
Yes. Yeah.
So while I can't recommend it exactly, um, I would say that this is a mostly harmless movie. There
Mhm.
are two things that are quote unquote woke that I could that I could detect in it. One is that one of her friends refers to taking another girl to prom, and when you're at the prom, she was dressed in a tuxedo.
Yes, and
This is, by the way, the only reason I bring it up is that it is so inconsequential because you never even meet her date.
no, no, yeah,
So it's just a little bit of background virtue signaling combined with being really easy to take out for foreign markets.
you're right.
So
Yeah,
that's sort of normal cowardice.
yes, yes, and what got me too was there was the one scene in the girls' bathroom where Ruby's in there, and then the Ariel lookalike is in there with like two other people, and one of them's a guy.
Oh, I missed that, but you're right. That was strange.
Yeah,
I
like
think that was just a bit of cartoon illogic.
oh, probably, yeah,
That they were just so fawning over her greatness that they just followed her in.
oh, yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
uh, so I don't think they were doing anything there. The other thing I noticed was that they were doing this thing where, okay, like 20 years ago, um, you'd have characters in sort of that Daria Raven from Teen Titans thing.
hmm,
Like they would sort of like they have their pose that they hate the conformists at the school or whatever, right?
right, yeah,
And so, if they're being asked out for prom, they would ask their similarly alt person to prom and be like, "Hey, I know that it's all just like a big conformist circle jerk, but over at the prom, but
yeah,
it might be fun to go out together." Ironically, that kind of sweetness.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Ruby kept asking her crush out to the prom, like, "Hey, I know it's a post-colonial construct."
yeah, yeah,
Like it's like that just felt weird and unnecessary. Like,
yeah,
because just calling someone a conformist, again, like one is kind of cute, the other one just kind of eye rolling.
yeah,
It makes you wonder what they're learning at that human school.
yeah,
um, I only bring those up just because they were well, okay, the one was very not jarring. I was just paying attention to, and I said, "Oh, that's so cute. You think you're standing up for something, but Universal's going to have it cut out for China and the Middle East without having any problems."
right.
And the other one was just kind of that's oddly specific language there, and I don't know if they thought it was being cute. Um, Speaking of language that was trying to be cute that just didn't work,
Yeah.
Daniel, read my mind. What's the phrase I'm thinking of?
The grandmama.
Okay, no, that wasn't the specific one.
Oh, the ones that's okay.
What was the one thing that they treated like it was a funny running joke just because of what he was so obsessed with it? The uncle.
Oh, a snack stick. Snack stick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it's
Yeah.
just a corn dog, and they just kept like snack stick was what he kept saying over and over again, being very excited about it. It's just like the saying snack stick in and of itself is not a joke.
No. Yeah. Yeah. That's just, yeah. Yeah. The uncle was just kind of there too. He was just wasn't.
Yeah. Um. So I think overall, um, what I'll give this movie is I last year I made an attempt to watch Turning Red as a thing to review for the show.
Yeah.
I did not make it past the opening introduction scene of the characters because it was so bean mouth, cowl art style, obnoxious, uh, just obnoxious characterization that I just wanted to die.
Yeah.
This movie started on a very similar bent, but I will say that while it wasn't the deconstruction of the Little Mermaid I kind of hoped that Pixar could pull out, or not Pixar, DreamWorks could pull out,
Yeah.
it was basically Turning Red, but done half competently.
Oh. Ooh. Man. Yeah.
That is the faint praise. I think we talked about it at the time and agreed it's not a failure, but it is basically a D kids movie.
It is. Yeah. I yeah. I was just so annoyed the entire time I was watching this.
Yeah, like there were like moments I enjoyed. I'll say the animation is kind of cheap, and this is
Mhm.
more obvious when they're underwater. It feels like the frame rate does weird things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very. Yeah. Yeah. It would just. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.